let's have a look at what we've got today. It's going to be a lot of reading. I'm so sorry. You're probably going to get quite frustrated. I do apologize in advance. But I wanted us to have a look at this very handy candidate's response booklet. Now, I don't know if some of you already have this or not, but it is a very handy thing to look up on the internet. So all you have to do is type in the Google search engine, IG English candidate responses, all right? And you should get this booklet. And it's very extensive. And what it does is it shows you examples of questions and the examiner's recommendations for how you should go about answering the questions. And then, very handily, some actual sample examples and the marks that those samples or responses got. Because sometimes, you know, you feel like you're drifting out in the ocean with these kind of things, because although you get marked work back, sometimes you want to know exactly what Cambridge would be looking for. How do they judge pieces of work? And this is a nice way of getting insight into how they do that. So in this lesson, I haven't included the entire booklet because it's huge, okay? I've just cut out the sections that I want to use for today, for the purpose of today's lesson. So please, it's really worth your while to go and have a look at this IG, to try and get hold of this IG booklet, Candidate Responses, IG English, okay? So do that in your Google search engines. It's a very, very interesting exercise to do so that you can have a look at what goes on in Cambridge. What they'll do is they'll give you a contents page. Now remember, for your exams, you're going to be doing paper 2, the extended reading passages, and paper 3, which is directed writing and composition. I don't know why they've called it paper 31 here, but anyway, it's directed writing and composition. So those are the 2 things you would focus on. And we've been doing quite a lot of work on directed writing, and I thought that it would be nice to just consolidate that by looking at some of the examples that students have written in directed writing and how the examiners go about judging their answers, okay? So I'm sorry if this is once again about directed writing, but I'd just like to get to grips with it, and then we can move on to looking at other things in the live lesson. So I just want to see if my pen is going to work. Yes, it is. Good. Okay. So directed writing, that's what we're going to focus on today, the paper 3 aspect of this particular booklet. All right, so let's go down. And the paper 3 question is section 1 directed writing. We're only going to look at section 1 because there are other sections to paper 3, but this is what our focus will be today. You are a head teacher and have received the publicity flyer printed opposite for us below from the Green Team Challenge Management, otherwise known as GTC. Okay, the Green Team Challenge Management. You have decided that your school will nominate a student for the challenge, whatever challenge this may be, and you have received 3 recommendations following a vote by the whole school. So 3 people have been recommended for this challenge, and they were voted in by people from the school. Now, imagine you hold a meeting with your deputy head teacher to decide which one of the 3 candidates to nominate. So you're going to be making a decision. It's you, the head teacher, and your deputy head teacher. You're the ones that have to make the ultimate decision. What are you going to have to do? You're going to have to write the dialogue, right? The dialogue between yourself and your deputy head teacher. Now, of course, we haven't read the leaflet yet, so don't worry, we're going to do that. But keep in mind that with these kind of directed writing questions, you have to have a certain number of focuses, and here there are 2 bullet points to focus on. In your conversation, in your dialogue, evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of each of the finalists. Explain the reasons for your final choice. So essentially, look at their strengths and weaknesses and then come to a choice and why you decided on that choice. So we very rarely look at dialogues, and I think it's quite nice to do something like this. So let's see how people went about doing this. It says, base your writing on the ideas found in the publicity flyer and the information about finalists on the opposite page, and even tells you how to begin your conversation. So remember, when you get instructions like this, make sure you do it, okay? Begin your conversation as follows, with the head teacher, you, saying, let's consider what these students have said, I must let the GTC know today which finalist we have chosen. More instructions, you should write between 1.5 to 2 sides of paper, okay? So this is based on the size of your handwriting. So if you've got a larger handwriting, you'll aim for 2 sides, and if it's a bit smaller, 1.5 sides. Now, up to 10 marks are available for the content of your answer. So in other words, how well or how closely you have read the paper, and 15 marks for the quality of your writing, your grammar, etc. All right, so and it's for 25 marks in total. Now let's have a look at one of these let's have a look at the leaflet. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? Okay, so the Green Team Challenge, and this is the flyer / leaflet. We can look at the logo, and it's Green Team Challenge, and they've used some trees in their logo, so they must obviously care about the environment. Green Team Challenge, or it's something to do with the environment based on visual evidence so far. Good news! Your school has the opportunity to recommend one lucky senior pupil take part in our exciting new venture, Green Team Challenge. The challenge is to set up an education and visitor center in an environmentally unique area of rainforest. So we're in a particular geographical location, rainforest, a jungle, in other words. So they're going to be setting up this education and visitor center. We are looking for the most courageous, intelligent, and adaptable 16 to 18-year-old from your school. He or she will need to be physically fit and ready to take part in the types of challenge facing the team as they live and work together for 12 weeks. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a challenge. You have to be brave, you have to be smart, and you have to be adaptable because you're going to be challenged in this particular rainforest environment. Also, you're going to be working as a team, so you better be a team player. After a week's preparation on how to fish for food, keep fires alight, cook a meal, manage first aid, plus basic construction and team buildings. There's lots of things they have to do. They'll also learn what is and isn't safe in the rainforest. They need to be able to absorb all the information we give them, solve problems, and cope with the everyday conditions of their new environment. Although the rainforest is hot, it is also tropical, which means storms, heavy rain, and long days when, as a group, they will need to get on and communicate well in order to avoid conflict, hazards, and even boredom. Look at this list of 3 of the kinds of things you can expect to, experience in this situation. This sounds very much like Survivor for those of you who have ever watched Survivor. And you know how well that goes, right? So choose well for your candidate to have the chance of being selected as one of the 20 lucky members of the Green Team. This is a unique opportunity for your most suitable student to have a life-changing experience and to act as an ambassador for your school. So they're going to act as an ambassador for your school. They better be nice people, good people, polite people, etc. You have exactly 1 week to inform us of your choice, GTC management. Okay, now let's look at the 3 finalists who have been put forward. And they've obviously got to justify why they think they are good for the role of this challenge. So the 3 finalists, the first one is Marissa, and we have a picture of her. I am a top candidate. Not only do I exercise and run daily, I'm in training for the 1,500 meters, which is a test of endurance and speed. But I'm also good with words. I'm on the debating team, and I am very convincing when I want to be. I'm clever too, as I've done well in my exams, especially biology. I can listen well, and I help stop arguments occurring by solving others' problems. Okay, it's true that I don't like bugs and snakes, but I can deal with them. I'm good at canoeing and love being outdoors. I'm proud of my school and want to represent it in a positive way. Okay, so that's Marissa. She's quite Well, she believes in herself, let's put it that way. Okay, here's Didier. We get his picture. This isn't a challenge for weaklings, so don't choose one. Interesting opening line. Certainly not a modest fellow. Instead, take a look at my muscles. I've been bodybuilding since I was 12 and have won 10 competitions so far. I'm also great at map reading, so I won't get lost, even if the other team members want me to. Okay, alarm bells ringing there. He's got a good sense of humor, but okay, why would they want you to get lost? Obviously, you've had this said to you before. When I was younger, I was in an activity group for boys, and we learned how to light fires, swim in rivers, and fish for our supper. I'm used to managing our football team. Now that needs some tough negotiating skills at times. I'm also pretty handy with a hammer, and I helped my dad build our garden shed. Okay, so that is Didier. And then finally, we come to Kim. And here we have her picture. Thanks for all your support out there. So she thanks people. I'd like to think I'm an all-round achiever. I keep fit by playing football and cycling everywhere. I've just completed my life-saving badges in swimming, and I go rock climbing during my spare time. I'm a keen inventor and won a prize at the National Science Fair recently. I get on well with others and have been part of the student counseling service for over a year. I'm the eldest in our house. Actually, I'm the one in charge of all the recycling, and both these factors make me responsible, believe me. I'm a steady person who likes working with others, making new friends, and overcoming any obstacles I come across along the way. Right, so let me just get a very quick tally of who would choose which person. And thank you very much for your apology. No worries if you're late. I'm glad you're here. And good morning to those of you who have also just come onto the chat without my having said hello to you. So having read through those three candidates, I just want a very quick, and you don't all have to respond if you don't want to. Who would you go for based on those three descriptions? Marissa, Didier, or Kim? Marissa, Didier. Kim, yes, okay. Kim. Marissa, interesting. Okay, interesting. Kim, all right. So most people would go for Kim from the looks of it. Nobody's going for poor old Didier. Okay, I think most people are going for Kim. Good. Okay. So that's great because now you know exactly how you want to shape your argument. You're going to want to go for Kim if you were to write this dialogue, right? But let's just keep in mind what we have to do. We have to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of each of the finalists. So you're going to have to look at each of them. And then once you've looked at each of them, you would explain the reasons for this choice. Now, somebody has suggested, and rightly so, Didier would cause friction in the team. Yes, by the sounds of it, he probably would. Okay, now, so you're going to have to evaluate all of these candidates in a dialogue, and then you're going to have to come to a conclusion as to who you would choose. And we're kind of doing that here in this dialogue, in this chat box dialogue. But obviously you'd have to do it more fully. Now, I just want to quickly touch on what the examiners will say. I can't go into every little thing because we are restricted for time as usual. But general notes on possible content. This is what they would recommend you should do, or this is what they are saying students did, or what they should do. Okay. Candidates should link qualities and strengths of their chosen candidate to the details in the GTC letter. So you'd have to look at that letter closely, look at what they want. They should also enter into some discussion as to why the remaining two candidates are suitable in some ways, but not ideal overall. So there are good things to be found about the other two candidates, okay, even Didier. There may be some imaginative ideas about the challenges candidates will face, but these are only acceptable if they are linked to the text. So what they're saying is that sometimes you might go into more detail than is necessary. Focus on what is needed. There is no credit for getting the right answer. Now, isn't that interesting? We all went for Kim, most of us, but there's no credit in getting Kim right. You don't get it. That is not what they want you to do. They don't want you to necessarily choose the best candidate and the right candidate. The marks are for fitting the qualities of the candidates to the information given in the GTC letter. In other words, they are testing your close reading skills, your attention to detail. And the attention to detail should lead you to Kim being the right candidate, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't. Maybe you chose Marissa, and maybe people like that she's direct and she's self-confident and she's willing to admit that she doesn't like bugs and snakes. Maybe some people would choose Didier because although he's a bit conceited, he's got constructing skills. He's worked in the wild before. He's a strong character. Maybe you need to balance the team with somebody who's strong and outspoken. So, yes, Kim would be the ideal one to go for. But if other people chose to go for this other candidate, it's just about how you justify your choice, and that's what they're looking for. Can you match up the qualities of the candidates to fulfill what the GTC leaflet is looking for? So they'll give you a bit of explanation, and obviously you're going to send me a web chat message on the main chat system to request this if you want this lesson, so that you can have a look at how candidates went about choosing the candidates. I can just read the first line of each one. Most candidates will opt for Kim to win he or she. Oh, okay, so maybe Kim was deliberately ambiguous, because when you do look at the picture, it's not that apparent that Kim may be male or female, actually. Kim is a name that could be used for males or females. So most candidates will opt for Kim to win. He or she, deliberately ambiguous, has some humility. She thanks or he thanks people. He or she is a general all-rounder who keeps fit by playing the type of sport others engage in. Thus, he or she must be extremely fit. And we get this from the subtext rather than the overtly boasting Didier, as he or she goes rock climbing and can swim well and does life-saving, etc. So all of these things are qualities that could help in the argument for Kim. If we look at Marissa, Marissa might get the girl power vote because she is a very straightforward, direct girl. She's forthright, but she's much more obvious than direct and doesn't tick as many boxes as Kim. She is fit, training for the 1500 meters, but apart from useful stamina, doesn't have such direct links to the challenges. And then you can look at an explanation of that. And then for Didier, he tends to boast and is self-centered, but some may think he's a bit of a laugh and may even misread his bodybuilding as a strength, okay, and his winning of the competitions as being seriously strong and determined, therefore usefully linked to the text, etc., etc. So it's all about how you justify your choice based on the requirements in the leaflet. The strongest answers will be those which thoroughly discuss the most important aspects of each candidate and put forward their chosen student, highlighting all their strengths and linking them clearly with the text in the flyer. So you must make sure that you base your argument on what is said in the flyer. Weaker answers will be less balanced in terms of coverage of the three finalists and may slavishly link skills stated in the text to those of a finalist. So for example, they need good swimmers, and Kim is a very good swimmer. Okay, so it's too basic. Or they make basic comments such as these kinds of things. They need somebody to build something. He can build a garden shed. He must be good for the job. It's too simplified. Is that how people would discuss candidates? Think of a realistic situation where a head teacher and a deputy head teacher would get together and talk about candidates based on the information they're given about the candidate. Okay, how are we doing for time? 9 minutes. All right, now let's look at candidate-wise answer. They made their own little summary for themselves. You do not get any marks for summaries, okay? You have to make your own notes because this shows that you are planning, but this is for your own benefit. So your marker would only look from here onwards, okay? And then this particular candidate got 12 out of 25, and they have classified this along with the other section that they didn't answer for that we're not looking at today. They got overall a mark called a grade D. Okay, so they got 23 out of 50 probably, and that's a D. Now, they don't have set marks, like 23 out of 50 is not always going to be a D. What they do is they mark a selection of papers. They get an average from that, what they call a grade threshold, okay? And depending on how you have done compared to other people, that will determine your grade. So if lots of people struggle with an extract, it's a good thing in a way, because then they're more likely to be lenient in the way that they mark, right? So at this point, with this particular paper, the grade D was set at around 23, and it'll probably be like a 22 to 25 gets a D, right? Something like that. Now, let's have a look at why this person got a D. So they start out well because they use that suggested opening line that they gave you in the question. The head teacher says, let's consider what these students have said. I must let the GTC know today which finalists we have chosen. And then you've got to continue in your own words. The deputy head, and look, they've done this nicely. They've underlined who's speaking. You don't have to do that, but you definitely have to, because it's a dialogue. You must have colons showing who is speaking. Okay, so that is the convention of dialogues. One person speaks, then another person speaks, etc. Okay, go ahead. I believe Marissa, Didier, and Kim are the 3 candidates. Correct me if I'm wrong. Head teacher, no, you are totally correct. I have been reading through bits of their entries. I am astonished to how good they are. Oh yes, I could imagine. Marissa, Didier, and Kim are excellent students and excel in their best areas. All right, so I'm just going to stop there. What would you think about this answer as a marker? If you were going to mark this answer, what stands out from you? Oh, if you're late, thank you so much for joining. What stands out for you about this candidate? What do you notice about them, just based on this? Any suggestions? They say I too much. Ah, interesting. So let's see how many I's there are. I. Okay, you could argue that. Although I suppose, I don't know how else they could do it, because they have to actually, they are the ones that are having to discuss this idea. But yes, maybe there's too much. No, I think that it's difficult to say, because they have to discuss it, and the only way they can really do it is by saying, I believe in this candidate and not this candidate. But yes, maybe it sounds a bit too strange, a bit fake. Okay, here's some more suggestions. Good. Bad punctuation and spelling. Yes. They say too much. They say things in a wordy, unnatural way, perhaps. That doesn't sound quite like natural speech. Sentences are too long. Names aren't capitalized. Good. You're noticing all these things. Let's talk about the bad punctuation and spelling. Okay, go ahead. I believe Marissa. Well, there's a proper noun that is not capitalized. Why are these 2 capitalized and this person's name isn't capitalized? There's inconsistency. So don't be inconsistent. There are the 3 candidates, and then they've got a semicolon, which is fine. But then why do you start the next part of the sentence? You're still in the same sentence if you use a semicolon. Why do you put it with a capital? It's got to have a small letter. Okay. The grammar errors, yes. And unnecessary conversation, yes, too much. So correct me if I'm wrong. Do we really need to say that? Okay. I believe Marissa, Didier, and Kim are the 3 candidates. That's fine. Correct me if I'm wrong. Look here. That's wrong. Should be I'm. Okay, good. And then one of the things says, no, you are correct. Sounds like slang or very relaxed for an important meeting. Good, yes. Okay, remember, this is the head teacher and the deputy head. They are professional. They have to appear to be professional to one another. Although it is a conversation, there will be some sort of casual element to the conversation. But when you are choosing something important that the whole school has voted for, I doubt you're going to sound this way. No, you are totally correct. Okay. And so good point. Yes, it's too relaxed for this type of meeting. And why not have this capitalized like everything else has been capitalized at the beginning of the dialogue? Why is that now small all of a sudden? No, you are totally correct. I have been reading through, you've probably picked up on that, bits of their entries, comma, I am astonished to how good they are. Okay, some strange or awkward expression that needs to be a bit more complete. And this, we could say, is a comma splice error, a very, very common mistake students make, where you separate 2 main ideas that should be complete sentences on their own with a comma. There should really be a full stop here. I've been reading through bits of their entries, full stop. I'm astonished to how good they are, full stop. If the idea can stand on its own, it's a full sentence. Okay, it stands on its own and it makes sense. So already your mark is going to be like, oh, okay, I can see how the rest of this is going to go, grammar-wise at least. Let's look at ideas and content. Okay, oh, I got 3 minutes. Okay, so just before we look at ideas and content, I want to let you know that I have also included 2 other students' answers, and you must read this. I think I should actually just read it now, so in the last couple of minutes. If you went through the whole thing, you would see that the marker thought the dialogue in this answer is natural and convincing, to a point, I think, to a point. Even the preamble sets the scene for the discussion to follow. So they're saying that they think that people would talk like this. Yeah, it's debatable. Remember, marking can be subjective on some level. There is a good attempt to link the criteria for the GTC to Marissa's strengths, if you read through it, and weaknesses in an effective discussion. Unfortunately, the other candidates are not dealt with in the same thorough fashion. So you'll see if you read through it, it's all about Marissa, then they touch on Didier and Kim, and just by touching on Kim at the end, they decide to go for Kim. But they haven't fully explored Kim, okay? So this is the problem. They're not dealt with in the same thorough fashion, and listing and paraphrasing is used instead. At some point you'll notice, in fact, they probably lift almost word for word somewhere everything about Kim. So she keeps fit, she has various life-saving badges in swimming, she goes climbing, she's a keen inventor, she likes making new friends. I mean, this is like word for word. Don't do that. Use your own words. The reasoning at the end is rather contradictory and unclear. If you look at that, it's like, oh, but Kim has this. Oh, yes, you're right. She's got that. Okay, let's go for it. Although, are we sure? Oh, okay, let's go for it. Okay, so there's a bit of uncertainty. The style and tone of the piece is reasonably effective as such, but there are some basic errors of spelling and punctuation. And that's why they got 5 for reading and 7 for writing, which came to that 12 out of 25, which gave them that D ultimately based on with the other marks. Now we're on the last minute, so I just want to say, send me a message for this lesson so that you can, or look up the booklet for yourself, whichever you prefer to do. And I wanted to show you that there's an A answer, okay? There's an A answer sample here and what the examiner thought, okay? And yes, that's a grade A. And then there's also, amazingly enough and very rare, a grade A star, I think it's called. A high grade A, oh, okay, a high grade A. So a really good A.